Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be talking about something I think is super important for anyone running an online business or thinking about starting one.
Absolutely.
And that is networking, but not networking like, how your parents used to think about it. We're
Yeah.
talking about online networking. So, to help unpack all this, we're diving into this really interesting blog post from blogwidow.com.
Great blog.
It's called The Role of Networking in Growing Your Online Business, and it was just published on March 10th, 2025. I think we can both agree this post had some really good stuff in it, right?
Yeah, it was packed with good insights, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, what I think was so cool about it is that it really cuts through all the noise out there. There's so much advice online about growing your
Oh
business.
yeah, it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. And this blog post just gets right to the point. It's like, okay, you want to make it big online, you got to build real connections, not just spam everyone with your links, but genuine, meaningful relationships. Like, think about it. Have you ever heard about micro-influencers?
No.
Or this idea of offering value even before you ask for anything in return?
That's huge, yeah.
Right. So I'm really excited to get into all of that. But first, I'm curious, when you read this blog post, what was the thing that jumped out at you the most?
Well, for me, the biggest takeaway was how the post redefined what networking actually means for online businesses.
Yeah.
Like we all have this image in our heads, right?
Totally,
Like
yeah.
networking, it's all about, those awkward conferences and elevator pitches, stiff handshakes.
Yeah.
But if for anyone running a business online, it's just totally different. This post argues that it's more about building a web of relationships,
Okay.
like a support system.
Yeah.
It's about surrounding yourself with people who can genuinely help you grow your business.
I love that, like weaving away. So the blog post goes on to highlight like 5 key benefits of networking, which I thought was cool. Did any of those stand out to you in particular?
I think all five are important, but the ones that resonated most with me were building relationships with people in your industry and then learning from their mistakes.
Uh-huh.
Not just their successes, but their mistakes too. I
Mm.
mean, just imagine being able to connect with people who've already been there and done that. People who've already navigated the challenges you're facing.
Right. It's like, why make the same mistakes others have already made if you can avoid them? Right. But okay, so we've established it's not just about schmoozing and scoring favors. It's about finding mentors, collaborators, people who can help you avoid those common pitfalls. But how do you actually find those people online? Like, where do you even start?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Let's say you were launching a new line of, I don't know, handmade soaps.
Okay.
Would you just go around randomly messaging every single person on Instagram who has the word soap in their bio?
No,
Probably not.
probably not the best strategy.
No. Instead, you'd probably want to connect with people who are passionate about, like, natural skincare. You know, maybe people running similar businesses or even, what are they called? Oh, yeah, those micro-influencers, the ones who are already talking about handcrafted goods and stuff.
Wait, hold up. Back up a sec. Micro-influencers. I'm really curious about that. Why are they so important? And how do they fit into this whole networking thing?
Micro-influencers are, I think they're kind of like hidden gems in the online world.
Mm,
They might not have like millions of followers,
right.
but they have this really dedicated, engaged community that trusts their recommendations.
Okay.
So going back to our soap example,
Hmm.
imagine you found a micro-influencer on YouTube who like reviews artisan soaps.
Hmm.
Partnering with them could mean introducing your brand to a whole new audience that already loves what you offer.
So it's about quality over quantity, right?
Right.
It's not just about chasing huge numbers.
Yes.
It's about finding the right people, even if they have a smaller following, but they can actually make a real difference for your business.
Exactly. And something to remember too is that, building these relationships with people, with anyone, it takes time. You can't just slide into someone's DMs expecting a collab right away.
Right.
You got to build that foundation first, that trust and mutual respect, like you would with any relationship.
So how do you do that online? Like, how do you go beyond that surface level and actually cultivate those genuine connections?
Well, I think it really boils down to, being authentic
Mm-hmm.
and showing genuine interest in the other person. So instead of just bombarding them with your sales pitch, ask questions, find out what their challenges are, celebrate their wins.
Uh-huh.
The more you invest in that relationship, the more likely they are to reciprocate.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not about being fake or trying to be someone you're not. It's about actually caring about the people you're connecting with.
Okay.
Okay, this is all really resonating with me, but there's one thing I'm still trying to wrap my head around, and that is how do we actually measure the impact of this whole networking thing? How do we translate those connections into real, tangible results?
That is the million-dollar question,
Mm.
and honestly, that's something we're going to dive into in the next part of this deep dive. We're going to explore all the specific ways you can turn those relationships into actual business growth.
Ooh, I'm excited for that. All right, so we'll be right back after a quick break to unpack all of that. Stay tuned.
Can't wait.
Okay, so we're back and I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty. Like we've talked about why networking is so important.
Right.
But now I want to know how. How do we actually take all these online connections and turn them into something that actually helps our businesses grow?
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
And it's where so many people get stuck. They collect contacts like it's a hobby.
Like baseball cards.
Yeah, but then they never actually do anything with those connections.
Right.
The key here is to think about networking as not just a one-time event,
Mm-hmm.
but like a continuous process,
Okay.
something that you weave into your business strategy.
Got it. So it's like always be networking.
It's like tending a garden.
Yeah.
You can't just plant the seeds and then expect a harvest without doing any of the work.
Right. Right. You gotta you gotta water those plants.
You got to nurture those connections, give them the attention they need to grow.
Okay, so what does watering those connections look like in the online world? Give me like some specific examples.
Okay, well, think about the platforms you're already on, right? It could be as simple as engaging with people's posts on social media.
Okay.
And I don't just mean liking and moving on.
Yeah.
Leave thoughtful comments, share their stuff if you like it, tag them in relevant discussions.
Right.
It shows them, hey, you're paying attention and you value what they have to say.
It's like being a good friend, but in the online world.
Exactly. You wouldn't just ignore your friend in real life, so why do it online, you know?
Yeah, totally. And just like in real life, building those really solid, strong relationships, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just expect to like slide into someone's DMs and suddenly land a collab, right? It's about putting in the effort, building that foundation of trust, just like you would in any relationship.
Absolutely.
So how do you go beyond just like the surface level? How do you cultivate those deeper connections with people online?
Ask questions,
Okay.
like really thoughtful questions that show you actually care about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Learn about their challenges,
Yeah.
celebrate their wins. The more you invest in getting to know that person, the more likely they are to, like, reciprocate.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say you've put in the work, you've built this awesome network of people online. How do you really use those connections to help your business grow?
Well, remember those 5 key benefits of networking we were talking about before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, each of those can actually turn into, like, real, tangible opportunities for your business.
Okay, I need an example. So let's take accessing new opportunities. How does that actually work in real life?
Let's say you're part of this online community for entrepreneurs,
Okay, yeah.
and you mention, oh, you're thinking about expanding into a new market. Well, someone in that group might already have experience in that market, or they might know someone who does,
Right.
and they could connect you, you know, introduce you to potential partners, distributors, or even just share some valuable insights that you never would thought of on your own.
Right, so you're tapping into this collective pool of knowledge and experience.
Right? You're not just limited to your own little world.
Yeah.
You can leverage the power of this whole network.
It's huge. And it's not just about getting help from other people. It's also about offering help, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe someone in your network is struggling with something that you've already figured out.
Mm-hmm.
And by sharing your expertise, you're not only solidifying that connection, but you're also positioning yourself as like, a helpful, valuable resource.
Totally. And it really is a two-way street,
Yeah.
It's about creating this win-win situation where everyone benefits.
I love that. Okay, what about collaborations and partnerships? Where do those fit into all of this?
Oh, this is where the magic of networking really shines. Imagine you connect with someone online who offers a service that, like, perfectly complements yours.
Yeah.
You could team up, offer a package deal, and you both tap into each other's audiences. Like, boom, you've just expanded your reach significantly.
I can see that working really well, like a graphic designer teaming up with a web developer.
Exactly. Or a fitness coach and a nutritionist. I mean, there's endless possibilities.
Oh my gosh, this is like blowing my mind. I'm really starting to see how networking can be such a powerful tool for not just growth, but like innovation too.
Absolutely. And it creates this ripple effect, right? Like
Mhm.
one collaboration can lead to new connections, and then those connections lead to even more opportunities. It's like you're constantly expanding your network and your potential for growth.
Okay, so far we've been talking about like being proactive, reaching out to people, but what about those of us who are like a bit more introverted, can we still be good at networking without feeling like we have to be, on all the time?
That's a great question, and one that I think a lot of people can relate to. And luckily, the online world offers so many ways for introverts to rock this networking thing.
Oh, good. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay, let's dive into all that in the next part of our deep dive. Okay, so we're back. And, we've been talking about all these really proactive networking strategies, putting yourself out there, but I'm thinking about all those listeners out there who are maybe a little more on the introverted side.
Yeah.
Is there a way to be good at networking without feeling like you have to, force yourself to be super extroverted?
You know what? That is such a good question. And I think for a lot of people, there's this myth that to be good at networking, you got to be like this super outgoing life of the party person. But the reality is that introverts can be like incredibly effective networkers, especially I think in the online world. They actually have some really unique strengths.
Oh, okay. So tell me about these strengths. Like, what makes introverts such great networkers?
Well, introverts are often fantastic listeners, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They're not always trying to dominate the conversation. They're really good at like really tuning in to what the other person is saying, understanding their perspective. And that can be really powerful for building genuine rapport.
So it's not about like, talking the most or being the loudest voice in the room.
Exactly.
It's more about actually listening and connecting with people on a deeper level.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But specifically in the online world, like, how does that play out?
Well, the beauty of online networking is there's so many different avenues for connection.
Right.
Like you don't have to go to some big giant virtual conference to build relationships.
Right, right.
You can find your people, your tribe in like smaller, more intimate online communities.
Okay, give me an example. Like, what kind of communities?
Oh, think like niche forums,
Okay.
Facebook groups dedicated to like specific interests, or even like online courses where people are interacting in the comments.
Right.
Like these are spaces where you can have those more thoughtful, more nuanced conversations. And that's really where introverts thrive,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's like less pressure. Right.
Way less pressure.
You don't have to like work the room. You can just be yourself, focus on those deeper connections.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? It's all about finding your people. It's not about just collecting a bunch of contacts.
Right. It's
Right.
about like finding those genuine connections.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, but does that whole value first approach that we talked about before, like, does that still apply in these smaller, more intimate communities?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's even more important in those spaces
Yeah.
because authenticity is key. Like nobody wants to feel like they're being used or just like pitched to, right? So focus on really contributing to that community. Answer questions, share your insights, be helpful.
So basically, you're building trust and goodwill before you ever ask for anything in return.
Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing is like by doing that, by genuinely contributing, you're naturally positioning yourself as like an expert, a thought leader, a resource.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. People start to see you as someone who can actually help them. And that's what leads to collaborations, referrals, like real opportunities.
So it's almost like a reverse approach to networking, right? Like instead of chasing after those opportunities, you're sort of attracting them to you by being a valuable member of the community.
Yeah, exactly. It's a much more sustainable approach.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like we've really busted the myth that like networking is only for extroverts.
I hope so.
It's something anyone can do,
Yeah.
especially like online when you can, find those communities and strategies that feel right for you.
Absolutely. And the key takeaway, I think, for everyone is to, like, not be afraid to put yourself out there.
Right.
Find those communities, find your people, and just, focus on those genuine connections.
So it's about connection, not collection.
Yes.
Value, not vanity metrics. And ultimately, it's about using the power of the internet to build that supportive community that can help you grow.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, well, listeners, that is a wrap on our deep dive into the world of online networking. And I don't know about you, but I am feeling like so inspired right now.
Me too.
So, as always, we want to leave you with something to think about, a little homework, if you will. What is one small step that you can take this week, today even, to start building those connections? Could be joining a Facebook group, could be leaving a thoughtful comment on someone's post, or maybe just reaching out to someone you admire. Just remember, even those tiny actions, those little steps can lead to big results. So get out there, start connecting, and watch your business grow. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.